Hi, I'm Drew Goebel with Cincinnati Parks Conservation Land Management. I'm here today to show you how to identify honeysuckle and how to control it. Before we cut anything in the woods, we want to make sure that we have the identification of the plant correct. Honeysuckle tends to be a multi-stemmed shrub. It's got a light brown color bark. As it ages, it starts to get dark vertical stripes that go up and down the lengths of the branches. Also, the overall shape of the shrub tends to be an arching habit. The branching is definitely something you want to look at to be sure you have the correct plant as well. Honeysuckle has what's called opposite branching. That means that everywhere there's a branch, there should be another branch coming off right across from it. And when the leaves come out, the leaves will be right across from each other as well. That's opposed to an alternately branched plant like bitternut hickory that we have here. And you can see on this plant, there's a branch, a space, and then another branch coming off of that. If you see something that's alternately branched like this bitternut hickory, it's never gonna be honeysuckle. If it is oppositely branched, look for the other characteristics. Also look at the very ends of the twigs, which are going to be very small and brittle, and also hollow. So get the ID right, and then when you're sure it's honeysuckle, that's when you move on to removal. So for removal, at our volunteer events, you're typically going to be using loppers or handsaw. With loppers, they're best used to go after honeysuckle that's about the size of your finger in width, up to about the size of the width of a quarter. Larger than that, you want to use your handsaw. When you go to cut it lower to the ground, just a couple inches off the ground. Once you get your honeysuckle down and you've cut your stump low and you've cut it flat so that we're not leaving sharp stumps, safety hazards, then it's time to get the herbicide on the stump. So we're giving our volunteers dabber applicators. These are really nice and convenient for volunteer events because they prevent spills really well. They should only apply herbicide once the sponge in the applicator is pressed down onto the stump. If herbicide comes out otherwise, then the sponge needs to be replaced or it's not in tight enough. Before I apply it to the stump, make sure you get all of your debris off of there, and also try not to step on these if you're in muddy conditions, because you want to keep this sponge as clean as possible to extend the life of it, and also keep dirt out of there so that you don't deactivate the herbicide. When you go to use it, all you do is press down. You really want to use it like a stamp. You don't want to use it like a paintbrush back and forth on the bigger stumps, because that's going to destroy your sponge in like a day. If you use it the way that I'm showing, it'll last for months. Just get the herbicide on there like this within about 15 minutes of cutting it down, and the honeysuckle is going to be dead. So we often use chowing to manage our debris, which is simply using your loppers to cut up the honeysuckle into lengths of 2 or 3 feet. That allows it to settle down over time onto the ground and break down within a few seasons. When you do that, aim for where the branches branch off from the main stems and go from there. Occasionally, we will also use the debris to build brush piles, which can be beneficial for wildlife. If we're removing a lot of the shrub layer in the forest, this is a temporary replacement. The way to do that correctly is to put the larger material on the bottom, and then as you go up, you can place your smaller diameter material on top of that, up to about 4 or 5 foot tall. An important thing with these is that there is cavities available. What you don't want to do is you don't want to have them so dense with twigs that nothing can get inside of it, nothing can use it. So for the 2 different debris methods, check with your site leader at the beginning of the event to determine which one you're going to use, And if it is debris piles, they'll help you select the locations for those piles. So that's all the information that you should need to get started with Honeysuckle. We do have other volunteer events and opportunities that we're developing, so look for those in the future. Thanks for volunteering with Cincinnati Parks, and we'll see you out in the woods.